Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today's video is a review of Hitman. It's the latest from director Richard Linklater, who co-wrote the script with the star of the movie, Glen Powell. Powell plays a guy named Gary Johnson, a professor at a New Orleans college, who helps out the local police from time to time with surveillance work. When one of the officers is put on suspension, Gary soon discovers he has a talent for playing a fake hitman, but his life veers into dangerous territory after meeting a woman who wants to enlist his services. Before I jump into the review, a quick plug. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and make sure you subscribe to keep up with all the videos I post here on the channel. Now, Hitman is loosely, and I mean loosely, based on a Texas Monthly article about a real guy named Gary Johnson, who was a college professor turned fake hitman. Now, the movie itself takes a lot of creative liberties with the story, but at the end of the day, no matter how truthful the movie may or may not be to the source material, what you end up getting is a very funny, interesting movie about passions, identity, and what could cause someone to do something so seemingly out of character. Glen Powell plays a character named Gary, and Gary is this mild-mannered, unassuming kind of guy. He's nerdy. He's a college professor that likes bird watching. He has cats named Id and Ego, right? And they do this thing in the movie where they dress him down, you know, to make him nerdy. They give him glasses. His polo shirts don't quite fit correctly. He has shaggy kind of hair. They're really trying to play up the fact that he's nerdy and awkward and he's not charismatic at all, right? And having seen Glen Powell play characters that are self-assured, maybe even a little cocky, you know, in movies like Top Gun Maverick or Anyone But You, it is interesting to see him play this type of character. And so, you know, he's playing this guy, Gary, who sometimes helps out the police with surveillance work, and then he's sort of thrust into this really dangerous world when he begins to play this fake hitman. And to do that, he takes on a lot of different identities. One of the identities that he assumes is alter ego that really kind of takes hold is an alter ego named Ron. And Ron is cool. Ron is self-assured. Ron is good-looking. Ron is also very dangerous because Ron is a hitman. And I think if anything, I'm watching this movie, and what it showed me is that Glen Powell has a lot of range. I always liked him as an actor, but seeing him play this type of character or characters really showed that he has quite the acting chops. He can do comedic roles, he can do dramatic roles, he can do both of them at the same time, and it's really funny to watch him take on these different personalities and identities throughout the movie, because basically, you know, his character is helping the police set up these sort of sting operations where people who are trying to hire hitmen to take out someone, he takes on these different personalities, you know, based on kind of the case and operation that he's doing. Ron is this character that really takes hold. This is the alter ego that he really attaches to. He does such a great job. He does such a great performance in this movie. You know, he's funny, he's charismatic, he's awkward, he's all these different things with all these different characters, and I really enjoyed watching Glen Powell play these roles in this movie. You also have Adria, Arjona, who plays this character named Madison. Now, she's the woman that reaches out to Gary's hitman persona, Ron, for help out of a bad situation. And once those two meet, the story takes a very interesting turn and things start to really spiral, especially for Gary. The story is very multi-layered. You know, on the surface, it's just about this guy who is, you know, your average Joe kind of guy, and he finds himself being pulled into this very dark, sinister kind of world, you know, simply by chance, because, you know, he's helping out the police, and then suddenly he has to become this fake hitman, and how he handles that as this change is happening is really very interesting. But then also this movie is tackling the psychology of that. You know, what happens when you take on these different personas, take on these different identities, and what happens when there's one particular identity that you really like that's not necessarily, you know, a good kind of person, but it's one that is interesting and exciting. And what do you do with that when you discover that you kind of like being this person? And also, you know, it's exploring this idea of identities in terms of, you know, do you choose your identity? Is an identity just something that you have innately? Also, there's a love story here as well. It's an interesting kind of love story, but it also plays with that idea of what's love, what's real, what's fake. I really liked how this story unfolded, and it took a lot of surprising turns for me. And there were things I weren't expecting at all, and I was pleasantly surprised throughout. So this is actually a Netflix movie, and it got a short, very short theatrical run. Thankfully, I was able to catch a screening of it at one of the theaters near me, and I had a blast with it. I really enjoyed it, and everyone else in my screening seemed to be joining it as well. You know, we're all laughing out loud at certain parts, especially towards the middle of the movie where the story takes a lot of interesting turns and Gary's life starts to spin incredibly out of control. And this movie was very interesting, and I really didn't know anything about this movie before going to see it. I mean, I knew the name of it, I knew Glen Powell was in it, I knew it was going to be on Netflix, but I didn't know anything about the backstory, I didn't know anything about the plot, and so I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw, and I really enjoyed it. And I kind of wish this movie would have had a longer theatrical run, because I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen it. Either way, it's going to be on Netflix really soon, so I hope people check it out, because it's really, really good. So those are my thoughts on Hitman. If you get a chance to see the movie and you want to share your thoughts, you can do so in the comment section below. And while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe so you see more content like this.